guys, here come the dollies. They got fresh sinkers, hot coffee, and the sweetest smile.
Welcome back to the Clubmobile, everybody. We are so glad that you've joined us.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back.
Joining us this episode is another very special guest. We are very honored to have Miss Barbara Blakely Holck joining us today. If her name sounds a little familiar and you're a fan of Masters of the Air or a history buff, then you know her father was 100th Bomb Group pilot Everett Blakely. Barbara, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, ladies. Winnie, Gabby.
Thank you for coming on and chatting with us. We're really excited. And we're very excited to have another segment of Wives of the Bloody Hundredth to share with our listeners.
Yes, if you're keeping up and keeping score, we are trucking along with this series, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's also a true pleasure to find out so much about these women and bring them to the forefront along with their husbands. So, Barbara, I would love to start with how your parents met and how your mother came to be with Gene Crosby and Gerry Hamilton in Chicago during the war.
Certainly. My mother was raised in Sioux City, Iowa. She was the only child. Her parents divorced when she was quite young. And so she lived really in the home of her grandparents, as her mother did, and other family members. It was a multi-generational home. And so her big influence, of course, was her mother and her grandmother in her life. And so she was there even, I think she had 2 years of college. And then she came to meet my father during the war. I think it was after, was it after Pearl Harbor or right around that time? My father was training to be a pilot in the Air Force. He actually joined the Air Force before Pearl Harbor by about a year, I think. And they moved him. I couldn't believe when I reviewed his training schedule, how often they moved them, like every 2 months. I thought, wow, that's a lot of relocating. And one of them was to Sioux City, Iowa, excuse me, where he was training. And I think it was common for like the USO to host dances for the soldiers to help the morale. And then they would get the young ladies from the nearby community in buses and take them to these dances. I don't think it was the intention of finding wives, but certainly to alleviate the boredom or monotony or loneliness. And so she went to one of these dances and met my father. And I think he must have fallen in love right away, because I think that he called her the very next day and they began to date. And within 2 months, he knew he wanted to marry her. And at first got permission from his my mom's grandmother, not my mother's mother, to marry her. And he was quite proud because he had $250 in savings. And I don't know, maybe that could have been a lot of money in 1943, 42. And so then he had to leave shortly after that to Boise, Idaho, more ongoing training. But he had proposed to her, so she drove, I don't know, she and her mother went there, and they got married at probably the Army Chapel with some of the characters that you see in the movie, like Bubbles Payne, and were in the wedding party. And after 2 months after they got married, my father had to leave to go to Thorpe Abbott. So it was a very short time that they were newlyweds before he left to fly the B-17 in World War II from Thorpe Abbotts, England. Oh, so how did they get together? I'm going to be making some assumptions here. And although you may know, my mother is still alive at 103.
Yes.
But she wouldn't do well on an interview right now. But maybe it was just for practical reasons. They said, let's live together and move to Chicago. And maybe because Chicago is where you think you're going to get jobs, right? It's a big city, and she worked as a receptionist there. She never, I know Rebecca Crosby mentioned her mother had all these letters that they saved. My mom, I don't have any of those kind of resources that my mom saved from that. And truthfully, I'm the youngest of six, and all of us were born after the war. My mom would always say things about it being nice, but without any detail. And so I think it was just what it would make sense. They're all in the same situation. They have a common circumstance, and to share resources and get a job and support each other.
Right.
But I mean, 2 years or whatever, relationships can go up and down just like normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they lived together. They lived together in Chicago. There was obviously a common ground between your mother and Gene Crosby because Gene's father, Harry, was part of your dad's crew.
Yes.
Did she ever mention that maybe they were closer, or because I know that at one point Gerry Hamilton left and joined the circus?
I know. Did you know she did roller skating?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
So,
Which is
actually,
Fascinating story.
I
it's a
think
fascinating story, yeah.
have an interesting story about her mother, if you can get
Mm.
her on, because she was raised as an orphan.
Mhm.
But anyhow, you need to find her. And so I don't know the details of exactly how many went or whatever, but they all had occupations. But yes, what was her name? Gerry Hamilton did leave to join the circus, and I don't know. Maybe she just needed to get away from things. I imagine she was used to being independent, having come from that childhood experience. And again, I'm making assumptions.
Mhm.
I think Gabby and I have also assumed that the difficulty of her own husband going missing,
Yes,
whereas Harry Crosby and your dad,
yes,
Everett Blakely, returned home, albeit a little bit banged up and bruised
yes,
during that Bremen mission in October.
yes.
So I can imagine that caused some, I wouldn't say arguments, but I suppose it would cause some uncomfortability between
Yes,
the
I'm
three
sure
of
there was
them.
a heaviness about that and an awkwardness even.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so you said your mother never really shared much information about it, but your father, I assume, shared quite a lot of his war years with you and your siblings.
You know, like many men, they didn't talk about the war years for a long, long time.
Mhm.
I do have one brother, his name is Jim, who he's the second born, who has a deep interest in my father's war years. And in fact, he'd be a better one to interview than me because he's devoted many years researching it, and he even speaks at the reunions. He's taught his granddaughter to do YouTubes where she goes in the looks at the cockpit and describes every job there, and she's like 8 years old, and so you ought to look her up on YouTube. So um, yeah, he didn't. I know my father was a very positive man and never spoke ill of anything, but he didn't go into a lot of details. Although we have interviewed him a long time ago, and a lot of it's also about his. That was 2 years of his life out of 80 years of a life,
Right.
and so a lot of it is about other things as well as the war.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned that your mom is still alive. Has she, in the course of her life, and it's 103, she's 103, you said, right? Over the course
Incredible.
of that is incredible. Over the course of her life, did she ever speak of her time or remain friends with Gerry and Gene Crosby? Was there a connection there that kind of
Oh, yes. I mean,
spanned their lifetime?
uh, people wrote letters all the time, right?
Mhm.
And at least Christmas, my mother would always handwrite her Christmas cards with personal notes. And for years and years, she would have this correspondence with people, including them.
Right.
And then, of course, the reunions, I don't know if they started in the 70s.
Yeah, it was
Maybe
it was
the
around.
70s. And then, you'd have time to see people again.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Did you ever attend one of those with your parents, or was it more of a adults only
You know,
type thing?
sometimes children really don't get that interested in their parents' lives
Oh.
until they get older.
Right.
And that was true for us. So I started going to the reunions more like, I don't know, 15 years ago. And my mom has gone, but it was after my father had passed. And my father's passed now nearly 20 years ago. And so, but I have gone with my mom and other siblings. As I said, I'm the youngest of six. I have four brothers and a sister. And my other brother, David, is also um, gotten interested in my father's history. He even got a page from my father on Wikipedia. And it's
Which
a
is a
little bit
great
of an
source of
effort.
information. It's
You,
wonderful.
you have to go through some hoops to get stuff on Wikipedia. And so you
Yeah.
could go to Everett Ernest Blakely and read some of what I will say, probably, of course, in more detail. So you could go there to learn about my father's military history, because he served 26 years.
He
In the
stayed
Air
in
Force.
long
Yeah.
after the war was over
Oh
then.
yeah, it was a whole career.
And your family traveled a lot with
Yes.
his military career? You lived in a lot of different places?
Yeah, my oldest brother's born in Seattle, and then my next brother, where was he born? Oh, my oldest brother's born in Arizona. I got him mixed up. Number two is born in Seattle. Uh, three and four are born in Cali, Colombia. Then I had a brother born in, where was he born? San Bernardino. See, gets
Got a whole
confusing.
list.
Anyway, it gets down to me, the last one. I was born in Georgia. And so, yes, I think we all love to travel because of that lifestyle. And my oldest brother did go and enlist in the Air Force. I think he had about 4 years, and he was in Thailand. So he didn't get affected by the Vietnam War. And I myself became active duty. I got a military scholarship for medical school in the
Wow.
That's
Air Force.
amazing.
And I stayed beyond my obligation because I was loving it, and I met my husband there, and so we served together quite a while. I ended up retiring as a reservist, and he retired from the active duty Air Force.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
So it just the love to travel and other cultures that was cultivated in my childhood. Um, at some point after I was born, I don't know. This is post World War II. Maybe you don't want to hear this part.
No, we absolutely do.
Oh, we love this stuff.
Okay.
Please.
Well, after World War II, and all these kids are getting born, and then after, so all these stateside assignments, and then we went to the Philippines.
Wow.
And we went on a boat back then. And you crossed the international date line. Back then, it was a big deal when you crossed the international and celebrated. I think we traveled with my father's parents. They helped us because that was 6 kids that they took there. And a lot of my memories of the Philippines are really from photographs, being the youngest. But so the stories were great, our time there. And back then, a lot, you'd hire Filipino people to do some of your domestic chores. And of course, it was affordable. And so we had somebody who cooked and cleaned for us back then. And we had somebody who took care of our yard. And it's kind of interesting because I was told that they didn't really have lawnmowers like you and I would do. They just had big shears, and they cut your lawn with these big shears. And the one who did it, his name was Ignacio. And he became very important in our family. He wanted to come to America, become an American citizen. So he applied to go into the Navy. And my father, of course, gave him a recommendation. And so
Oh,
he
wow.
was able to join the Navy. He did a whole career in his Navy and his whole family. And he continued to stay in touch with my family. And then they retired in the San Diego area. So, but that was the Philippines. And then from there, we went to South Bend, Indiana. And my father was the military professor at the ROTC in Notre Dame,
Wow.
University of Notre Dame in South Bend. Good Catholic university.
Yes.
And it's funny, it's some things that I can remember my street address. I don't know why. There's a lot of things I don't remember, but I can remember the street address and going to school there and being near a community pool in the summer. And so it was a great couple of years. And my father was such a great dad. He was a doer. He always wanted to do something. He wouldn't sit down and watch sports or things like that. So things that interested him was gardening. He always had a garden, and I loved eating what came out of the garden. And there was a time when we were in South Bend. He had, I guess, too much vegetables, and then we put it in little trays, and I would go door to door and sell it and make a few bucks or a few quarters, I suppose. And the other thing he liked to do was be in his workshop, making things in his workshop and fishing. Those are fond memories of my father. We would go fishing. And for fishing, you have to get up early, right?
Yeah.
You don't sleep, and you get up early before sunset and you go to where you could fish. Mostly we fish from the shore.
Mhm.
And I could cast my net, my pole, my line, but I wasn't ever good with the worm. So he would always put the worm on for me. But and to get us up in the morning, he would go, and back then, of course, you had LPs for music, right? They're about this big.
Right.
You had a big console piece of furniture to listen to it on. And he would play from the Music Man, the 76 trumpets, which is really loud and blaring.
One of my favorite songs of all time.
That would be get out of bed kind of a thing. And
I'm gonna set it as my alarm now, I think, just so Everett can wake me up in the morning.
That's like the most creative. I feel like that's such a dad thing to do, right? To get your kids out of bed, put some fun music on, and get them out of bed for something that they're looking forward to doing. My dad would just send my mother in, and my mother would just run in and open the blinds, and she'd go, "Get up! You're late for school."
I never got that. I just was left to my own devices, unfortunately, which didn't put me in good stead. I would rather have had 76 trombones blaring. Your dad had such a wonderful career. Did your mom kind of follow along? Did she also have a job at the same time as your dad, or was she home with you guys for most of it?
She was a stay-at-home mom, up until several of us, probably a lot of us had already grown up and left the house. I think she went back to work around the time I was in maybe junior high or something like that. And she didn't work very long. For 90% of her time, she would stay home and take care of us. We always had homemade food for dinner. And she was a pretty good cook. She apparently didn't start out that way, but by the time I came around, she learned to be a good cook.
Took the first 5 to really get into the swing of it. I get it.
Yeah. So, it was a point we did sit down as a family for dinner. And so those were good memories. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And on your birthday, maybe for you could decide what you wanted to eat for that meal. Did you have those kind of things with your parents?
We did.
I did, but it was mostly going out to eat was always a treat for my birthday, and I'd always choose the nicest Italian restaurant I could find in the small town I grew up in. It was never, I don't think it was ever fine dining, but it was never a no, which was always pretty good. Yeah.
My big thing was the birthday cake. My mom would make whatever, and I would always want, because we moved from Brooklyn, where my grandmother lived, to New Jersey when I was maybe about 7. And my dad to this day still works in the city, and I work in the city now. But the big thing was I'd say, I want the chocolate cake from College Bakery. And it was a bakery that was right by my grandmother's house. And my dad would have to stop every year on my birthday and bring the cake home. And he'd have to make sure, my mother would tell him, make sure they write on the cake, because she's sending a man to get a cake. Make sure they write on the cake. But
Why am I not
that was the
surprised?
big thing for me. I could care less what we ate. It had to be the chocolate cake. That was
Yeah.
it.
No, I was never a cakey kind of kid. So it was always choosing what I wanted for
Yeah.
dinner specifically, the same as you. I think another thing that we would love to know about is we recently were lucky enough to be sent a whole bunch of Splasher Sixes from Nancy Putnam over at the foundation. And we came across the article that you and Rebecca and Jana wrote together. How did that come about? Was it a case of you met at a reunion and decided to all write this article together, or were you asked to do it?
Well, it was the when it was it, I think it was the Savannah, Georgia reunion. I can't remember. And I realized that all of us were there. I had known Rebecca better than I did. Gosh, and I can't even remember Jean
Jana?
Hamilton's.
Jana? Jana?
Jana, I
Jana?
think.
Yeah,
Jana.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I had met her and talked to her, but
Mm.
it clicked that we're the 3 daughters. And we just spontaneously said we need to get a picture of us and pose just kind of like we did
With the
our parents,
legs.
our mothers did. And so we did that. And then Nancy, she doesn't want to let a good story go.
Mm.
And
We're
so
learning that pretty
Ever the
quickly.
faithful editor, right?
yeah, she does. She's a great job at what she does, and so she just said, "Why don't you guys get together and write something about it?" So we didn't intend that to be the outcome, but anyhow, it became that.
It was a great outcome because
It was
it's a great
I love it.
article.
It's a great
Did
article.
Did you share it with your mother, and what was her opinion on the whole
She was
thing?
just thrilled,
Oh, I love that.
She's so thrilled. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you remain
Go ahead.
obviously in touch with Jana and Rebecca? You guys are
Not
close?
too much. Not Jana at all. And Rebecca when we go to the reunion. Although my brother Jim, the one I said does a lot of YouTubes, is probably more, and my brother Dave probably talk to her a little bit more, especially as they were going about with filming the Masters of the Air miniseries.
Right. She mentioned that their dad Harry would take them on camping trips, and they'd go on road trips a lot as kids, and that your family and the Rosenthals were frequent flyers on their road trips. Dan Rosenthal recently said that they couldn't change the locks fast enough. Harry Crosby was always at the door. But do you remember growing up and spending time with their family at all, or?
I don't. Now,
No.
maybe my older, as I say, I'm
Mhm.
youngest. I'm 10 years younger than my oldest brother. So no, not so much. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
No, that's fine.
Absolutely fine. How did you feel about the miniseries Masters of the Air? And my, I guess, part B to the question is, how did you feel about the portrayal of your father?
Oh, it was good. It was a small part because he wasn't a main lead, but I was glad that he was portrayed well. There wasn't any kind of questionableness about his behavior or character in the movie. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. Yeah. There were a few surprises in the movie that I didn't expect. A relationship I didn't know about, and that was I didn't know that needed to be there. But
yeah, we've had this debate with Rebecca herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe she and her sister disagreed that their dad had done that, whereas her brothers were he was a young man by himself. So.
Right.
Okay. But so it was good to see what life was like, and of course from the POW point of view as well, and that was important to be told because that was true for many of those soldiers.
Did you get a chance to go to the premiere? I know your brother, I think your brother Jim was there.
Jim did, yeah.
Jim went.
I wasn't invited. But
Rude.
he was the one who should have gone.
Mm.
Mhm.
I love that he's so involved,
He's
and your
very
brother
involved.
David as well. I love
If
that.
you start interviewing the sons, he would be a good one.
I mean, we would love to. He's very hard to pin down.
Yeah, your brother's very hard to pin down. He's a very
We've
busy
tried-
guy.
We've tried multiple times, and every few weeks we'll get like a 6-paragraph email from him, and it will always be, "I'm here, there, and everywhere, but I'll call you soon."
Oh,
Which
well,
is
it might
very
be
fun.
better now. I think things have gotten a little quieter from. I wouldn't give up on that.
No, absolutely
It
not.
was
It's
great,
just,
though, as you may, your listeners may know that in Mildenhall, the 100th Air Refueling Wing,
mhm.
100th Air Refueling Wing recently did change the nose art on one of their planes that was called Just a Snapping. It wasn't the original art, although the title's the same, but it had like a compass for the navigator with a sort of a profile of Harry Crosby. So that was a nice nod.
Yeah.
That was a nice link between the past and the present.
And Colonel Garlow has been very, very good in keeping the legacy of the 100th Bomb Group alive.
Oh, yeah.
Because I grew up very locally to Mildenhall, it's the first time I've really seen anyone in that leadership role take this so seriously and take the legacy so personally. And I know that he has a personal connection. I believe it's his step-grandfather that was part of the 100th as ground crew.
So.
I could be wrong, so I would love to be corrected otherwise. But he is the first one I've known to sort of really take it seriously. And your brother's speech during that time was incredible. It was a wonderful speech.
Fabulous speech, and it said so much about the climate, all the people, whether you were a pilot or pumping gas. Yeah, it was a great speech. And along those lines, it would be really great for your listeners if they really want to be part of this culture to go to one of these reunions. They often will be located where there's some World War II history, like New Orleans or Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia, with the 8th Air Force Museum. And, there's this part there where you see some of the memorabilia from the guys of the 100th Bomb Group. And they are putting a lot of money into interactive parts to the museum. It's not done yet, but in time, that would be great for your listeners. And if they have the resources to go to England, to the Thorpe Abbott's museum, that would be really terrific, because you're there where it happened, and the people who run the museum are just so sincere and passionate and loving to.
They're so nice.
Yes, from the U.S.
I was there in April, and I was floored by how. And I know they're expanding. They just built a new hut, and there's going to be more memorabilia and more artifacts put out. But I was just floored by how, just the feeling that kind of washes over you when you're there, that you're standing somewhere where something so great happened, is, you can't really describe it. I think that's the best way to describe it, is that you're standing somewhere where something so great happened. And I really enjoyed reading through, all of the little anecdotes and the footnotes on all the memorabilia and all the artifacts, and the section that was dedicated to your dad after the Bremen crash, with the photos of his plane and the article that he wrote. I think it was called, was it Death Was Our Co-Pilot? Winnie, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that it? Death Was Our Co-Pilot?
Either Death Was Our Co-Pilot or This Is What Happened. I think one of them he wrote with Harry Crosby.
And I stood there reading it for a good while, and I was just amazed by just the sheer will and determination and skill as a young man. Your father was in his 20s to bring 9 men back, to get 9 people back. Amazing.
But he doesn't take all the credit. It took everybody to make that happen.
Right.
I mean, the people had to throw out things to lighten the load, take care of the wounded back there.
Yeah.
So it was, everyone should get credit for it. Although there is a funny story about where he was seating, because those seats get really cold, but there was like, he put in an extra metal piece there on his seat, and it turned out one of the flak had hit the metal there, and he said it saved his ass.
Wow.
Quite
It was
literally.
kind of sad,
Literally did.
Quite literally.
really saved his ass.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
goodness. I love
Did
that.
he stay close with his crew after the war?
I think, yes, of course, through the reunions, yes, that
Through
would
the
be
reunions?
yes, because
They were portrayed so well in the show as very close and good friends.
Yeah.
And I think Gabby and I have, we've spoken about this at length, where we hope that that's one thing the show got right, was that they remained friends.
Yeah.
Do you recall them remaining friends post-war, or was
Yeah.
it sort of they all went their separate ways?
Well, I think, you get out of the war and you start living life, and you have all your individual lives and all. And I think as time goes on, you get a little sentimental,
Yeah.
and you want those relationships again, and that's what the reunions serve to do, right? Is to keep those relationships alive, even though, because they certainly didn't start right after the war. It was a while,
Right.
and so they had time to kind of get
Time to grow
seasoned
old.
and grow up, and have their families and things like that, and how we tend to reminisce more as we get older, and I think
Yeah.
probably that would be more so the case.
I'm glad that they had that time, not like away from each other, but I'm glad they had the time to sort of go and live their lives and then come back and have so much to share.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so much to talk about.
And it's interesting, I think about PTSD, right? I mean, because it's so common now, because we've had military careers, and I know so many veterans suffer from it. But back then, either maybe people didn't talk about it, but my father, there was never any evidence he had PTSD, and my husband seems to feel it's because a lot of those people came home on big boats that took weeks to get, and therefore they were able to sort of decompress from leaving, a war zone and whatever, and that helped in their mental health. Whereas today, you could be in the war one day, and the next day you're back in a civilian life.
Right.
I don't know. That's just a theory.
Quite a culture shock. No, it's one that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
It would take them, what, 3-4 weeks on the boat to get home.
And so maybe they were able. Well, a lot of times humor is how you cope with stress, right?
Yeah.
So they probably that was helpful, but yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah. Oh, something that pertains to you. You sent us beautiful pictures of these quilts that you make, that are, 100th Bomb Group adjacent, World War II adjacent. Was quilting something that your mom did that you picked up? Did she teach you, or is it just something that you came to do on your own? Because they're beautiful.
Thank you. No, I picked up the hobby on my own later in life. Actually, I've gotten a little carried away on. So if I can, I'm going to turn this camera around. I'll show you my.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Wow.
I love that. Gorgeous.
Wow.
But anyhow, so they have, there's always a silent auction at the reunions. It's fun. And so one time I just said, oh, I'm going to contribute something. I'll just make something.
I think that's great.
At the 8th Air Force Museum, there's a beautiful chapel next to the museum on the grounds with beautiful stained glass that have depictions of different things. And one of them was a 100th Bomb Group. And so I asked the museum curator or whatever, take a really great photograph of it for me.
Right.
And then I took that photograph and had it printed on fabric, and then I turned it into a small quilt. And I don't know, are you able to put that up there, Gabby?
So I don't know if I will also post this on our Instagram story,
Oh,
but that is
beautiful.
the
That-
quilt
that was fun. And
of
then
the stained glass.
yeah, so that was from a photograph. The other one, years ago, there was a man who painted my father's plane, just as snapping, which shows a lot of the propellers are not moving. And he did it on prints, and I had that put onto fabric. And then I did this thing called thread painting. I covered it with colored thread.
Wow.
I'm gonna show
Oh yeah.
and again, I'll post this one
Wow.
for our listeners and our
I
viewers
love that
also,
one.
but
anyway, they're just
it's
fun. They get a little money for
the foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, Winnie, we're gonna have to step our game up at the next reunion.
We're gonna have to bring merch and somehow
We're
learn
gonna
how
have
quilt
to
in
be
that
offering
time.
donuts, coffee and donuts for everybody, I think.
Yeah, are you
Somehow
guys,
learn to quilt in that time because I want to quilt our logo.
will you be going to the next one?
We will. God willing, yes, we will.
Okay,
I'm
that's good.
secretly hoping it's here in Seattle because I know that's been thrown around a couple times. So I'd only have to drive 40 minutes and pick up Gabby on the way. Which would be
I'll
great.
fly anywhere, so.
Correct.
I've sure enjoyed talking with you ladies, and of course, most of my memories are post-war.
That's
But
absolutely fine. This has
you know,
been
please,
This has
so
been such a
enjoyable.
thrill.
please,
Such
listeners, go try and YouTube Jim Blakely, and he has interviews of my father there and his granddaughter doing tutorials of the airplane and the positions, and she spoke at the last reunion. You may know that.
Yes,
he did. He sent us
that
the video.
in one of his many paragraph emails. He dropped that in at
Okay.
the end.
So, but thank you for doing this.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
enjoyed this.
Us too. Thank you
We
so
did.
much.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us and for listening. And until next time, we will see you all very soon.
See you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.